Good day to you, my fellow endoskeletons, and welcome back to the channel. We're here back in the Okim 1 ship shop for part 3 of the tour of its lovely spaceships. So, let's get to it. And we're going to kick off with one of Okim's most classic ships, the Mule, now called the Mule 3. The Mule 3 is a multi-purpose cargo shuttle that can carry various ship parts, supplies, chunks of asteroids, or 81 ore stacks. Its cargo frame includes side-mounted guides for precise snapping of ore cubes to help with efficient loading of the ship. The Mule 3 also has 4 resource bridges to allow the crew to mine around the ship with ease. And we're looking at about a 10.7 million cost for this ship, which is pretty reasonable considering its size. Now, we've got a nice big expansive cockpit right at the start here. And on the side you can see plenty of detail already. You've got the doors here, side thrusters, the radiator there, as well as little fins coming off the front of this side pod. On top we have again more artistic plate layouts, as well as a extra hard point here should you wish to add anything else, be it a weapon turret or cargo beam, mining laser, that sort of thing. On the bottom we've got again more decorative plates on the bottom of the pods, more spare hard points, as well as kind of little landing feet as well. Whether this is moon capable for landing, who knows, but we will find out at some point. Going around here you can see obviously Okim's got his little bits sticking out the front there like antennas, which look pretty cool. On the back of these pods here we've got quite a few thrusters, as well as 2 little hidden doors here. No buttons for these are manual. We can see we've got fuel rod holders for spare cargo here, and these come empty as standard, so don't forget to fill these up should you get this ship. Now these are for obviously carrying spare fuel rods for the generator, and we have some more here. There we go, another door shows us where the fuel tanks are now. Interestingly, these fuel tanks are only held by 1 support each side, so save space, meaning you can fit them in a much smaller area. As you can see here, there's no supports on this side. And then you've got some warning here as well to rename these the same as the names they had before, or you're going to have trouble. Although thankfully, we don't need to replace these unless they're broken now, because we can just refuel from the resource bridges. In this button we have one of the generators. You can see we've got coolant at the top there, some information panels for the generator, and at the bottom is where you can swap out the fuel rod. Close this up and head round the back now. You can see we don't have any thrusters, but we do have a big door. And this area here is what we call a cargo lock frame. You push this button here, you can see it kicks in. When it's blue like this, it means it's working fine. Lovely to see we've got some sunken lights here to light this area up, and here are the guides that they talked about in the description. So when you're using the ship to mine, you'll mine into the ship's cargo and then pull them out because it doesn't have very many cargo cubes, and then you put them in here as raw stacks of ore, stack all of these up in here, and you are good to go. And you've got another button here to turn that on. If it does not turn this blue colour, it is not going to be locked. In here we also have the gate at the back, and we also have the lights, which are of course optional. Over here we have the generator controls. You can see these levers are moving by themselves to generate enough power for the ship. Right now pretty much next to 0 because we're not doing anything. We can try and turn these up, but they will automatically go back to 0 because it's also being controlled by some of these YOLO scripts in here. Over at the side here we've got controls for the doors for entry to the ship. And I think on the outside there wasn't a button, or might be underneath. No, so these are just manual, so you have to grab these via the handles, which I don't think can be grabbed while the hinges still have power. Oh, is that going to be the button? Oh, there we go. So the button is tucked away just up there. Yeah, it's important to have these handles on doors for when things lose power. It means you can still open doors once you've completely drained your ship of power and the batteries are empty. So, looking around now, we've also got the manual, which you can just drag down on this, and then you can read how this ship works and all its little bits and pieces that you need to know about. You've got seats for your passengers on either side, and the cockpit continues underneath here. Jumping into the seat here, you can see the field of vision in here is pretty impressive. You've got up and down and sideways to a 480, just not directly upwards. But for the most part, you've got a very large area in front of you, so you shouldn't be crashing into anything by mistake. On the right hand side here, we've got buttons to close all, so if I press this and look around, you can see just up here, the doors all close, and you can press that again to open. Or maybe not. Just does all the closing. Okay. And then we've also got the cargo lock frame. Important to know if that is on or not before you start moving the ship, or you're going to have a really bad day. You can open the gate itself. There we go. And you've also got stuff for cruise mode and turtle mode as well. On the other side, we've got our details for ISAN, as well as the auto power script, which I mentioned earlier, and auto tank, which should help you manage your fuel and propellant supplies. So we've got these controls here, which don't seem to be accessible from here, but if you come across the very edge, you can just see the blue highlight around the controls there. So if you do need to change any of the settings on these controls, they can be changed from here. How well that will be for repair work, you may end up having to take some of this glass out because you can't actually reach them from here. So if we come up here, we can see this is the single receiver we've got. So this will be what the ISAN Mono is using, since it has no other receivers. And we'll head out the back door to get out. Overall, pretty nice ship. I wonder how quick it goes. It's got quite a few thrusters, but then it's also got quite a lot of plate work, which can slow it down, as that's a lot of mass to carry around. But overall, I think it's a really nice looking ship, and it doesn't cost so much because it doesn't have so many cargo crates, because you're carrying all that ore manually. Jumping onto the next ship, we'll jump over to the other side here to look at this one. And this is a very funky looking one with a very specific purpose. This is the Moth. It's a light passenger ship with 14 seats, cozy compartment and good visibility from inside the ship. The vessel is specifically designed to transfer endos between orbital stations and moon cities, all for sightseeing tourist runs. The Moth has enough power to move or hover at any altitude and to take off from the moon's surface into space. The ship has an automatic balancing script to ensure the ship is always moving parallel to the surface beneath it, and it has automatic altitude control as well. And we're looking at about 6.1 million for this. So, very interesting ship. Mostly downwards thrust off of this ship with some maneuvering thrusters here. And a couple of forward thrust here. So this is meant for landing on the moon. So let's have a little look inside here. Really awesome looking doors here. And by the looks of it, these open nearly flush to the ground, which is really nice to see. Jumping inside here, we have a glass bottom, just like one of those boats you have for when you want to go see marine life. And then we've got the bottoms of comfy looking seats and backrests made out of floor plates, which is a really cool. One light in the middle here, and you can see it's pretty roomy considering how much passengers it's going to be taking. Jumping back out, we can see side mounted batteries. The bottom is nearly all black, which is pretty cool. Ease of access here to the converters on the thrusters. And we've got some spare fuel rod holders at the back here, also come unfilled, so be sure to pick those up should you buy the ship. On top here we can see we've got resource bridge for refueling the ship, as well as the transponder and the radiators. The manual here is on top, so you can just pull this down and read up on what you need. If you want to read this, you can just click in it and you'll zoom straight in, and a couple of hits on escape and that will go away. You've got the main generator here at the top, handy little button, and we've also got, oops, at the front here, this is where all your code is kept and the controls for flying the ship. Now if we jump in here and we'll look for a quick little button for the doors, there we go. And that's you locked in the cockpit. You've got pretty much the standard turtle cruise as well as the hover mode here. And then you've got balance script, auto hover and gravity mode. And then you've got some other bits and pieces here too. Now we've got a light directly underneath us, making some of these hard to see, but that looks like ice-stand coordinates to me. On the right hand side here you've got various readouts for your different power levels and fuel rods and propellant. And if we hit the doors we can jump back out. It's got pretty good downward visibility, but not so much forward and upwards. Forward is, you've got to be very careful you don't run into something if you're going forwards, because your main view is nearly blocked. You can just about see directly forwards to where your head will be there. Anything above that is nearly all blocked by the door. So yeah, definitely if you want to be going down as a big group to go check out the moon city or land on your moon base with just transporting a bunch of endos, this will be the ship for you. Now there is another one over there and we'll get to that in a moment, but first we're going to be looking at this one. This is the TR13-0 Usret. The cargo lock frame transporter Usret is intended as a medium station beam freighter, but it is capable of carrying other types of cargo as well, with a maximum speed of 140 meters per second. The ship is equipped with ice-stand mono and an eco mode as standard. And there are 2 more turret slots for upgrades. Remember, for your own safety, always check the keybinds after buying. And we're looking at 11.4 million for this one, so let's have a little look. First off, first thing I notice is this big expansive cockpit, very nice. Although view to the side will be slightly hindered by the fact that the seat is a little bit behind the wall there. But looking around we can see there's one of the turret mounts they were talking about. We've got 2 resource bridges on the top here for refueling and or mining, most likely. I have to see if this has got any cargo crates inside. Plenty of radiators here. Nice use of the large hard points here. Gives it a very distinct look. And then we've got this ridging that goes along the top all the way to the back, where we find plenty of thrusters sitting here, waiting to propel your ship at quite high speeds. On the inside here we've got a very open plan area, which will be for the cargo lock frame, of which there should be controls for here outside. There's a little note here, never turn off while the ship is moving. That's some pretty good advice there, because if you did and you're carrying stuff, all that stuff is going to keep going and smash into your ship. So yeah, make sure again that it's blue before you start moving, otherwise it won't be locked correctly. On the bottom, again, it's just more ridging, so pretty simple ship there with just the big open area on the side. But let's jump in and have a look what we've got. Oh, this is very bright. Let me try and find the light switch here. All these buttons don't seem to do anything. They're all just named the default name. Disclaimer, you might want to remap the keybinds, find a bug, message somebody. Alright. Lights, lights, lights. Is there a button for lights? Doesn't look like it. So I'm going to turn this one off manually so I can see what the hell I'm doing. And you could do this on any ship pretty much. Just need to come in and just change these values. Oh, and I can't do it outside of test mode. What a shame. So I'm trying to read what this says. Empty buttons for upgrades. No idea what these upgrades could be, but easily accessible should you wish to do so. Back here is where we've got 6 generators, it would seem. So you can change out these fuel rods, no problem. I don't remember seeing any spare fuel rod holders anywhere, so that may be an upgrade you might want to do. There's plenty of space to slap them in on top of here, and you can just bolt fuel rods to the ship anywhere you like. No hidden doors here, so yeah, who knows where they're hiding those. I don't think the ship comes with any, which is a pretty bad idea when your entire concept revolves around carrying stuff that requires power. I don't see any buttons for the doors. Oh, there was more buttons up there. Maybe one of these is lights. Lights! Yes! Is there doors? I'm not seeing any doors. Flow in, flow out, lights, mounted weapon, auto power, rangefinder. Oh, let's go see where these rangefinders are. Not seeing where these rangefinders are. Is it off the front? Ah, there we go. For some reason, a very, very short rangefinder off the front of the ship. You wouldn't want to risk getting that close to anything in front of your ship outside the safe zone. Let me tell you that for free. What we got here? We've got turrets. Okay, that's pretty cool. So should you mount weapons on this and you're inside here, that's going to block your exit. So you can press that button to move any guns out of the way so you don't get stuck. Now, I really don't see any buttons for the door. Do not want to trap myself in this ship. Whoa. Overextended the door there just slightly. Interesting. But yeah, this definitely needs a open door button from the inside. I'm guessing this was what some of these were meant to be, but these just definitely feels like an unfinished ship to me. I would definitely just include upgrades. If it's just buttons, let people know. But let's go back to the cockpit now and see what we've got. Yeah, as I suspected, this does block view from the side, but you've still got a very big open view here. Down the bottom, we've got your standard cruise and turtle modes, as well as all the info for your position, fuel rods, batteries, as a few other bits here, and your controls. Up top, we've got the distance for the rangefinder, and what messages you're receiving via the receiver. And up here, the only real important thing you got to worry about is this bad boy, as of course they have included a warning. Do not turn this off if you're carrying stuff, because again, it's just going to smash your ship to pieces. Very nice looking ship, I think. I just think that some of its features seem to be a bit unfinished, and does indeed lack some spare fuel rods for when you run out of power. And that's going to be key if you're going to be carrying a large amount of stuff in those cargo lock frames. You're going to need more power, and if you run out, you're pretty much screwed. So I'm not seeing anywhere that they could have put it. Oh, and a small bit of a painting error there. Maybe they can get that fixed for the next patch. But yeah, I wouldn't hesitate on buying this ship if it was finished, for sure. But at the moment, there are a few too many things that need just a little bit of quality work just to touch up in this ship. But other than that, I think it's a pretty cool ship. I like the detail work on it. Design-wise, it's pretty cool. The door looks nice. And thinking about blocking the door with the turrets is also a good add-on there. It means it has definitely been thought about and some effort's been put in there. But yeah, definitely a cool looking ship. Now, jumping over to here, we've got a similar ship of different design. Again, another cargo lock frame ship. Just wait for it to load in here. There we go. And this is the Antares twin frame freighter. The Antares twin frame freighter is a cargo vessel with two large cargo lock frames. The ship is open in the middle to allow the pilot to easily see what's below the ship. The ship is designed as a freight ship for transporting station parts and salvage, although it can transport anything that can fit in its cargo frames. The ship has an adequate flight time and can easily reach 150 meters per second with no cargo due to the massive thruster array on the rear. The ship can be filled with cargo that equals the mass of the ship itself and can still reach a speed of 120 meters per second. The ship has a decent turning speed even when full and is equipped with ISAN quad and a transponder. And we're looking at 21 million for this one. Okay, so let's see now. We've got some decent stopping power here with, thank you LODs. Let's kick back in please. There we go. It's because it's a really wide ship. Mine do this as well. Okay, so we've got some decent stopping power here with 4 box thrusters. And we've got resource bridges on the front here. And we got 4 of those. Moving back further here, it seems like a lot of this middle area seems to be a little bit wasted and could probably just be filled into one large cargo frame. We've got a door here to get onto the inside where you can see everything is very tightly packed in. Some spare fuel rods on the top, all the thrusters with access to their cabling and wiring and piping all in here, so that's pretty good. And again, some more spare fuel rods on the bottom there. On the sides we have a ton of fuel packed in here, and on here as well as more spare fuel rods for this generator. Underneath here we can see, if we just turn ourselves upside down, we can see we've got one cargo crate and a whole bunch of batteries. And on the top we have just the batteries, as well as what looks like a slider there. So interesting to see what that might be for. And again, this whole design is mirrored to the other side. So you've got two main generators that run this whole thing. Let's jump out and go have a look around. We've got a hatch on the top here. I don't see a button for this one anywhere. Some nice decals on the side to give it a classification for the ship. There we go, there's a button. And we have access. Aha! So this must be what that slider was for. Access to the bottom. Ah, I didn't see that from inside. There seems to be a little spot just here, and you can press the button for the hatch. So you can get in and out to the center of your ship from the cockpit without having to go outside. And then this button was for that, and there we go, there's the main door button there. Yeah, it's a pretty cool area there. Nice, easily laid out cockpit area, most of the stuff just on the floor here, and then the little bits to your side here. Now, as the description did mention, this middle area is so you can see below you. Although I don't see this landing on the moon anytime soon, so this will have limited use, as you're still having this huge area blocked in front of you, and you could end up creeping up and hitting a asteroid that you can't see. Ah, didn't even notice this. On the outside here, you've got nice railings, nice little artistic touch there. And on the inside, we've got, let's see, displays for your generators and fuel rods, as well as your propellant, and then you've got your ISAN coordinates on the other side. Pretty standard use for turtle mode, and what looks like an unused button here, not in use. I'm sure you can find a use for that should you edit this ship in any way. So yeah, pretty simple laid out cockpit there. And again, another symbol on the side, as well as another resource bridge. And on the bottom here, that's where they're storing the ISAN quad, as well as some more radiators. All in all, I think this is a pretty good ship for transporting a lot of stuff, but I think it's going to come down to how well it can balance itself. If you fill up one of these and then leave this one empty, how's that going to affect the weight distributions and the flight profile of the ship? Are you going to have to store stuff in both? If you are going to have to store stuff in both to keep it balanced, then that's really going to negate the ease of use of having two of these cargo log frames. I don't use cargo log frames much myself, so I couldn't tell you from experience, but I would say that the mass is going to be transferred to the ship in some way, so it may well affect your flight profile. So just something to consider there. And yeah, I do like that hidden sliding door though. That does look really cool. Let me know what you guys think of this ship in the comments. It's quite a chunky one, very, very big. And pretty expensive for what it is, considering the size of it. But most of that cost is most likely coming from the generators. But going back to the other moon landing ship now. This one is the Moon Midge. Moon Midge is a dedicated landing ship to transport up to 20 ore stacks between moon cities and orbital stations. The ship has automatic balancing, altitude control and hovering scripts to ensure the safety of operations in moon gravity. And we're looking at about 6 million here. Now, taking a look at this, the design is very, very similar to the other moon ship that we found. So same amount of thrusters, same amount of spare fuel rods, even the same mono and radiators on the top, and the instructions. And pretty much same cockpit as well. The only difference is the inside is completely inaccessible, because this will be filled with just cargo crates. So yeah, not much to say about this, because, well, it's exactly the same as that one over there, just minus the seats. It will be very useful to use a ship like this, however, because getting any ores off of the moon surface is going to require a ship that can at least land there first. And same for if you are trying to build up on the moon, you're going to need to bring the ores that you don't have down to the surface as well. So this is definitely going to help you round out your fleet so you can get both people down there with the other ship and ores down there with this ship. Of course you can do both with this ship as well and have all the endos stand on this ship, but then that generates the risk of, one of your players going yee-haw and jumping off the side of the ship and then getting lost because they're miles away from the landing zone. But it's up to you which one's worth the risk and which one isn't. And then we've got our final ship here, and this is the Hotbox Elcot202. A small and luxurious dual cargo lock frame hauler. Comes with 2 bastion plated internal cargo lock frame containers with the dimensions listed here. The ship also has agitite plating to keep the nebula out. More on that in a minute. It's also packing ISAM mono for navigation as well as in-house HUDs for a detailed display of the ship's systems. The Hotbox is a single resource bridge that can be controlled via the HUD terminal inside the ship, which can also be used to toggle your transponder. Speaking of which, the vessel is equipped with a single laser cannon for defense against pirates and can also automatically turn off the eco mode as well as the transponder. And we're looking at about 6.2 mil for this. So here it is, and it's a very yellow ship with a little bit of detail work on the outside with various different decals and additional decorative plating. I'm really liking the internal kind of roll cage around here in the cockpit. This looks really nice. And you've got the laser cannon that seems to be mounted into the hull. Pretty good idea here, as you do not want to have too much of the weapon at risk of being just shot off before you get to use it. We've got some more decals here, some scratches, and some very neatly placed maneuvering thrusters and radiators here. Let's have a little look around the back, see what we've got. Just 4 box thrusters off-centered from the main hull of the ship, so this is going to be a pretty slow and inefficient ship to fly, mostly because its center of thrust is not in line with its center of mass. So don't expect to be pulling any serious speed numbers in this ship. And also, again, as a comment about the agitite to keep the nebula out, while agitite does indeed have a semi-decent corrosion resistance value, it is awful in terms of defense of your ship. So much so that if someone were to shoot this ship, a single shot would just penetrate through the entire ship. And as such, agitite is pretty much the wrong choice if you want to keep the nebula out. And I would probably recommend switching this to Agesium. Agesium is not as common as agitite, but is still quite common overall as an ore that you will find, and has a much better armor value compared to agitite, which is pretty much useless to be used on ships. Now, looking around, let's open some of these hatches and buttons. So on the back here, we've got access to the generator. And on here, we've got a hatch full of buttons. That's pretty cool to hide some buttons underneath the panel there. None of these seem to be opening any of these doors. These might be for control of the ship, mind you. Interesting. Let's just close this back up. Any way to open these? These definitely look like doors. There's sliders here. Let's check on the bottom here. No buttons here. Alright, let's go on the inside. Check out what luxury awaits us. Okay. The door button doesn't work, so we'll have to come in here manually. It looks like the ship is possibly out of power, which is why none of the buttons seem to be working. Let's see if we can... Yeah, this entire ship's out of power. So this has got a pretty bad setup to start with. You can't even test the ship properly. Oh dear, what have we got here? Power off. One of these buttons has to do something. Nope, okay, well, let's have a look at... There we go. Let's have a look at the cockpit. The cockpit is pretty good field of view. Can't complain about that. It's a really cool design. and carefully run cable work has been put down the side here, leading to all your different controls, which is cool. Very, very limited controls and readouts though. You got your must-haves like your propellant and fuel, a couple of random buttons here, and your ISAN and another unlabeled button because the ship's got no power. Batteries and ammo for the weapon here. Yeah, I mean that's as much as I can say about this at the moment. Randomly made, more organic cables, looks kind of cool. But yeah, unfortunately this ship is badly configured, so without any power I can't really demonstrate any of the features or look at half the buttons or controls because they don't light up. So unfortunately I can't recommend this one at all, for multiple reasons. Bad configuration, bad armor values, and badly aligned thrust to mass ratios. It's a nice try, and I like the artistic look of it. I like these little ridges that come over the thrusters, but yeah, there's just a few too many things wrong to recommend the ship. Maybe it hasn't been upgraded in a little while. Maybe there was a configuration change that had affected the ship, so it may not be fully in its creator's control. But yeah, for the most part, don't buy this one till it receives an update. So keep an eye out in the patch notes for this one. But that is it for this room. We are on to the large cargo areas next, and we'll see what huge ships this shop has to offer. But until then, Kenetor out.